Hey guys, Phantom here, and today we're going to do a patch rundown on 10.7 League of Legends. Some champions are getting buffed, some champions are probably going to get nerfed. That's just a normal way things go. Some champions will get buffed more than others, some champions will get nerfed harder than others. So let's just read through this together. These are my first impressions. I haven't particularly read the patch notes yet. So here we go, my first impressions right off the bat. So, pre-made balance and ranked. As we mentioned in the last patch, we've been working on some matchmaking improvements like autofill balance to make sure that each game of League of Legends it feels as fair as possible. With this follow-up change, we'll be attempting to make sure that when one team in a solo duo game has a duo, the other team has one as well. This change will only be applying to ranked solo duos, so basically they're reworking the math and the coding to make sure that both teams have a solo duo, so it's not unfair. But in that case, I'll just stop the fact that one solo duo is going to stomp and the other one is probably just two idiots. But hey, details. So Fiddlesticks is coming out. I'm probably going to release a video tomorrow or the same day about my thoughts on the new Fiddlesticks. I haven't read his numbers yet, but I did see his abilities, and I will say I did like his abilities. His abilities 100% did look good. So I have really good first impressions on Fiddlesticks. As usual, the rest is just going to come down to how his numbers look. But I do think that this Fiddlesticks, right off the bat, even if his numbers aren't there, is a instant upgrade from the old Fiddlesticks. A CAW cooldown on perfect execution being lowered from 120 to 100 in the early game. So this way she can have a little bit more of early game impact for ultimate. She doesn't have to wait too long to make things happen. I actually think that this is quite a helpful cooldown because there is a sweet spot where people like to have their ultimates so they can use it, particularly in lane phase, as a more offensive tool. That sweet spot's around 80 seconds to 100 seconds. When you have your ultimate on an 80 to 100 second cooldown at level 6, basically what this allows you to do is kill somebody in lane, back, and then walk back to lane, and then basically your ultimate is going to be just in time for when you wanted to kill them again. When it gets to the 120-second marking, and even 100 seconds is a little bit too long, but when it hits that 80-90-second mark, it's very useful to just get those return recycled kills that assassins used to be nicknamed for in the past. So 120 to 100, that will be impactful, that will be helpful. Will this bring her back into the meta? I think right now there are specific matchups she does well in, and there are situations where Galia could be a cool and useful champion to have on your team. Does she be returned back to her former glory? My answer is no, because what's really hurting Galia right now is she can't really do her Q auto Q, pocket keystone playstyle that she used to in the past at level 1. So the fact that her level 1 was hit so hard, even if her level 2, those are the big reasons why Galia's struggling right now. So, Corky. So his Valkyrie W special delivery is being direct hit burn duration going from 1.5 seconds to 2 seconds. This is nice, but the thing is that you got to look at the fact that how often is Corky using this ability, and he's using this ability like once every 4 or 5 minutes, right? So the fact that this ability itself has a 4 or 5 minute cooldown, this is not even going to be a very noticeable buff. What's hurting Corky right now is the fact that his base damage and his auto attacks was nerfed so hard, which also hurts the fact that he is a Triforce user, which also prevents him from being that late game menace that he used to be by the mid game. And they were really fair and good nerfs, and they're looking for ways to bring Corky back without buffing his auto attacks. And I like the fact that they're doing it, but the thing is if you're gonna do it, then it should be in the form of his Q or his abilities that he's actually, using. So next up, Galia. So Galia has been in a pretty rough state for a while, so they've been buffing Galia over and over and over again. I think right now, if you were to talk about solo Q, with the fact that they've been buffing his Q damage so consistently, I don't think he's as bad as people say he is. I think he's actually around the B tier range. I think if you're a good Galia player, you can make things happen. Do I think he's going to be good or OP? No, I do not think. And also, the fact that the way this R is being buffed, this really only matters for pro play. This isn't really going to matter for casual play, because the thing is that since it only works specifically against AP focused teams, that's going to be something that like a coach and a drafter are going to be looking at when they're drafting champions for pro play. When they see like a heavy AP team, they're thinking, okay, what champions could be good against AP? So in drafts, this makes Galia a more appealing option. But for solo queue, this does literally jack squat. But then, is this a big enough pro play buff to make coaches consider him more during the drafts? And my answer is still no, because picks like Vagar just outright. Vagar, Lissandra, I'll even say Malazar, just kind of outvalue Galia by so much. And if you want like a tanky mid laner, things on the likes of Swain and Vladimir are really good too. So as a tank mid laner, he's being overvalued, and as this utility mid laner, he's being overvalued. And then the big question becomes to: do we give him back his flash? And in all honesty, my answer is actually yes, because that was only something he was doing once every 5 minutes in the first place. I'd say give the Galia back his flash, because the only other two alternatives we have here, if we don't give him back his flash, is to buff his damage over and over again, and we don't want that, because you guys remember the patch where AP Galia first came out. That was not a very pretty patch. He was one-shotting people with Q. That was not okay. And then we could bring back Tank Galio, but Riot has made it very clear they're never going to go in that direction ever again, which is kind of unfortunate, because I feel that was the most fair out of all the Galios. So, long story short, does this matter? Yes, for pro play, but not to the high extent, and not at all for casual. So now, Garrett, he's going to get more nerfs. The last nerfs didn't matter at all. So, passive cooldown, 7 seconds to 8 seconds. That doesn't matter at all. Q, decisive strike. Movement speed duration going from 1.5 to 1, and at max rank 3.5 to 3.6. Mid rank, it's going from 2.5 to 2. Sometimes I read nerfs like this, and I wonder, like, I wonder if Riot's insulting my intelligence. Ivern, base damage on E, 60 to 70, mid rank 100 to 120, 140 to 170. That's actually really good buff. Not gonna lie, that's actually a really good buff. I think Ivern is actually completely viable right now for pro play when you look at specific comps. I think there's moments where you could definitely pick him, especially when you want like a protect the hyper carry type playstyle. I think out of the support junglers, he's definitely one of the better ones. R Daisy cooldown 160. This is actually really good. I actually think this is really solid for both solo play and pro play. But I think Ivern's playstyle, unless you're playing in like the more organized regions, doesn't really shine in solo queue. And I don't think he's ever going to really shine in solo queue unless he just becomes way, way overbearing in stats. But for pro play, I think there's definitely room for Ivern to come back. Caixa, supercharged, super fly. We're giving Caixa more opportunities for late game outplay while having so her cooldown is being going from 16 to 16, so no changes in the early game. Mid game is going from 15 to 14. Late game is going from 14 to 12. So this probably means that she uses like one extra supercharge in the team fights than she probably is right now. This is a good buff. It's useful, but it's not going to be overbearing. What's really locking Caixa out is two things. The meta where she really shined in no longer exists. It was a meta where ADCs really needed to avoid things. It was a meta where it was less about hypercarrying and just staying alive. And that's what Caixa was really good at. So the need for her became a lot less, and at the same time, range bullies like Misfortune, Senna, and Philias are really on the rise right now, and Kai'Sa generally doesn't like facing those champions. So for Kai'Sa to come back, the meta needs to shift a bit more in her favor, and the OPs need to get nerfed a little bit more. Okay, so next up we have Gnosis. Range on litter going from 600 to 700. That's actually going to be useful in a lot of situations because I know Gnosis players have run into a lot of times where they're chasing after a target and they're like, press W, press W, press W, and it's just not quite there. So this extra 100 buff is going to prevent those moments, but it's going to create new moments where they get spoiled by the 700 range. I'm like, boy, I wish it was 800. I'm actually kind of glad that they held back on the buffs they were thinking about giving. They were thinking about giving Gnosis Blizzard to work with the actual stacks to increase range on that way. So glad there's still a debate on if that's a good idea or not, because if Gnosis is able to stack W2, that could be a pretty scary reality. E Spirit armor reduction from 15 to 25%, mid game 25 to 35, late game 35. So this actually could be so this could maybe make Gnosis build a role that Doris is kind of serving at the moment in the meta, where he's just this anti-tank juggernaut. But the thing is, I still think Doris does the role better. So I don't think Gnosis comes into meta for pro play at all. I think this would have to be buffed by quite a lot for it to actually matter. Another thing is The problem is that Gnosis also just isn't tanky enough compared to the other junglers, which is weird to say, but he just isn't. And he's just also really easy to kite compared to the other juggernauts. And also at the same time, Zed is just outright best juggernaut hands down. No debate on that. Next up, so we have Nocturne. Mid lane Nocturne is going to be nerfed by a little bit. Health regen from 8.5 to 7. Magic resist grow from 1.25 to 0.75. I say this actually isn't going to make no differences whatsoever, because the thing is that mid Nocturne is not good because of his scaling. He's good because he's good. So if you're not hitting the flat stats at all, then mid Nocturne still gets to shine. Riven. So she's going her health regen buff to 8.5, base health going from 555 to 560. This is a mediocre buff. She's still going to remain like an above average top laner, but not OP. Talon. Initial damage 45 to. So 50 to 45, and then 70 to. Oh. Oh dear. That's a big nerf. 0.4 to 0.4, 0.6 to 0.7, so they're buffing just by a little bit. 135 to 125. So even the late game is getting nerfed. 110 to 1. Rest in peace, Talon. So mid lane Talon players, honestly, I say this guts to Talon. I would say he's just so over nerfed this patch. I really disagree with this nerf, because Talon is basically only viable in solo queue, and then even in solo queue he has very clear weaknesses that he hates running into. He's really bad into tanks, he's really bad against enchanters, all of these are really common champions. Like, I get mid lane Talon can get obnoxious to face, he's kind of like the Teemo of mid lane, but at the same time it's like, this is just such an extreme nerf on a champion that's not viable at all in pro play, and a champion that's kind of only above average in solo queue, and is only like a low elo stomper. This is like, I hate nerfs like this. I hate nerfs that are meant to only help out low elo players, because it really makes Talon OTPs are not going to be happy about this. So Wukong, outperforming expectations. It's getting nerfed. Bonus armor on Stone Scan is going from 5 to 11 to 5 to 9. That's whatever. Base damage 80 to 80, 160, 140, 240 to 200. Ability Q. Wukong's W, Warrior Trickster, and R Cyclone can now be queued up during his dash. I don't think this is going to be enough to nerf Wukong efficiently. I think the new Wukong offers so much utility that these damages don't mean enough to actually hurt out his combo. I think full combo Wukong will still be killing people. Full combo combo is still going to be a team fight menace. I think Wukong is... The Wukong rework was a weird, debatable subject. Honestly, maybe the Wukong rework should have been even more extreme, because the problem with the Wukong rework is that it doesn't address what made him so hard to balance in the past. If anything, it even makes him harder to balance, because now he has more tools to work with. Wukong is really a big stat check champion, and the problem with stat check champions is they're only OP if they do OP damage, and if they don't have OP damage, then they're just the definition of mediocre. So I feel like they worked really hard on trying to make this a successful mini rework, but the problem with mini reworks is that they don't often enough address the issues the champion had, because if you're not buffing the champion before the rework, then that means he has unfair problems. And the reworks are meant to get rid of the unfair problems that the champions actually have. Reworks are in their own way nerfs, because the reason you're reworking a champion is because they have clear problems that make them impossible to buff without making them overpowered. And the best example would be a Kali. I know people rework saying, I know people meme saying that the rework of Kali is a failure, but for those people who did not play Season 3, Season 4, the original Kali was a way more disgusting creature. That was the definition of unfair, because her R did decent damage, it was impossible to dodge, and she could do 3 of them in a row, plus her flash. So when the original Collie said, hey, I want to kill you, there was quite literally no getting away from her whatsoever. When the original Collie said it was your time to die, it was literally your time to die, and there was no counterplay to it at all. And that was what the rework focused on fixing. They turned Q into a skill shot, they made E a skill shot, they made R a skill shot, they also reduced how many dashes she had, they reduced the reliability she had. The new Akali, people meme it to hell, is way more fair than the original Akali, and that's what reworks are kind of supposed to do, address the problems that champions had before the rework. And that's why this mini Wukong rework really doesn't do much of anything, because it doesn't address those problems. Wukong will always be a very difficult creature to balance, because what he does is so guaranteed to happen, and if it's guaranteed to happen and he does too much damage at the same time, it's rough. I've talked about Wukong longer than I like to, but point is I don't think this is a big enough damage nerf to kick him out of the meta. And then secondly, I am really unhappy with the rework because it doesn't address the core issues he had in the first place in balancing health. Next up, Xin Zhao. Base heal 10 to 78 to 10 to 112. It's a mediocre buff. Really doesn't matter at all. They're nerfing conditioning to be 10 minutes to 12 minutes. That really makes no impact whatsoever. And they're buffing phase rush to be better on melee champions. So maybe Xin Zhao players start taking phase rush instead of Halo Blades now. So that going on, who are the big winners this patch? Fiddlesticks is a big winner because the rework is just outright better. Akali is kind of a winner, but not really. Corky, Galia mean nothing. Garrett mean nothing. Honestly, if we were to say who's the big winner this patch, it's probably Ivern. I think Ivern probably got the biggest bust out of anybody this patch. This was a pretty tame patch in the first place, just a lot of us talking about Wukong. Um, Xin Zhao might be a winner here with the passive healing being buffed, fused with the phase rush being buffed at the same time. So maybe we see Xin Zhao go back to phase rush. People will have to try that out. The biggest loser of this patch is definitely Talon with his break damage being gutted so hard. Yeah, so biggest winner of this patch is Ivern. Maybe we'll notice a little bit of love being given to Akali during solo queue, but I doubt it. But overall, that's the patch. I hope everybody enjoyed this patch rundown video. If I was to close this off on anything, 2 champions I would say you guys should be looking at right now is Gray's mid lane is really good, and I would say Lulu Halo Blades should be given a lot of consideration too. I think those 2 champions can really make a lot of upsets in the meta and potentially creep into the A and S tier regions. That being said, I'm Phantom GG, and I wish you all a good day. Peace out.